So the first question is, do you really need a hose tower? Because modern hose doesn't need to be dried. Well, kind of. And the manufacturers will tell you in one breath that these new synthetic hose doesn't need to be dried because it's not prone to mildew. That is accurate. When I first started in the fire service, we all had cotton jacketed hose and it all had to be dried. But interestingly enough, when you go to the manufacturer's website, they all talk about, we have synthetic hose, but it's safer to dry it, it's better to dry it, it's better to follow NFPA 1962. So Fire Apparatus magazine talks about, how's it going to be used and what's your standard operating guideline for drying hose and do you need a dry hose? The NFPA 1962 standard I'm referring to was developed in 2018. Now they'll develop a new version coming up, but it specifically talks about replacement of fire hose and maintenance of fire hose. And it calls out the synthetic hose that we're using. So it specifically talks about the synthetic yarn hose, and it says that although it doesn't easily form mildew, it can. And you should only put dry, clean hose back in service. Hose is not cheap. Hose is expensive. We want to keep it lasting as long as possible, right? We don't want to have to replace it every couple years. The best way to dry a hose inside and out is through a hose tower. Our hose tower is not going to be just a hose tower. It's going to be a training tower as well. Firefighters, advancing hose up a stairs or down a stairs is a special technique. Removing victims down a set of stairs, whether it's a patient who's sick or whether it's a fire victim, is a special technique. Having this training tower, hose tower, will allow us to practice those techniques and allow us to advance hose. We currently do that in our current hose tower. We have that ability to do it. We have a setup so we can go up the stairs, take hose up, drag hose down, and it really helps quite a bit. One of the other things that came up is the four-fold doors. Now you've heard me refer to them as bifold doors. You may have heard them referred to as accordion doors, but they're four-fold doors. So they're kind of a bifold door that opens in the middle as well. So why do we want those? Well, interesting enough, during our cost estimate, they came out cheaper than the overhead doors. So that's one thing that's a benefit to us. Another thing is they're much safer. Why are they safer? Well, there's two big reasons. Number one, they open much quicker. A four-fold door opens twice as quickly as an overhead door. Super, super important. Number two, the driver can actually see when the door is fully open. When you're sitting in an apparatus and you're close to an overhead door, you can't necessarily see when it's fully opened. So when they go to leave the station, I have unfortunately, in my years as a fire chief, had more than one fire truck take out an overhead door. So it damages not only the overhead door, which is a significant cost, it also damages the fire truck. So these are the types of things we're trying to avoid. Because the doors open and close faster, we lose less heat in the station during cold weather. Now the other question that came up in cold weather is, well, can you have these doors in cold weather environment? Because they're only really good for the South or Southern California. Well, I did a little research on that, and Hyannis has them, Ashland has them, Ketchikan, Alaska has installed them in their station. If those types of climates can do it, so can we. And it actually opens in such a way that it opens inside the station. Well, doesn't that take up a lot more room? No, it really doesn't. It opens inside the station. It takes up a little bit more room for the front of the bays, but the code requires the truck to sit so far back anyway, so it doesn't really take up a whole lot more room. But it's the safety and the reduction in service and cost is really worth that. Talking a little bit about the drive-through bays. So what is the drive-through bay? People have this perception of a drive-through bay, and if you look at the pictures, that a truck will come in the back of the station, drive through, and be ready to go out the front, so it stops us from having to back in. Well, yes, that is one benefit of a drive-through bay, and that's great for a small station with a single deep bay. What we've designed are bays that are 100 feet deep, and what we want to utilize them for is quicker response for all of our vehicles. So if we stack our vehicles in our drive-through bay, in order to get the second truck back or the third truck back, we have to move truck 1 and 2 out of the way so truck 3 can come out. Whereas we're going to stack them so they can respond out the front and the back. So it'll allow us to put our frontline apparatus in the front of the station, and our apparatus that don't go out as much, such as a forestry truck, our backup ambulance, maybe the tanker, in the back of the station, and they can respond out through the back and out through the parking area that is restricted just for firefighters. And that's kind of why we've set it up with 2 different parking areas, so we can do that. It's really a great benefit in that we can have, instead of 6, we have 6 bays, but it gives us the ability to stack 12 apparatus to respond directly out, as opposed to having to move all the trucks in front in order to get the trucks and back out.